Throughout history, Africa has been home to some of the most influential and visionary leaders the world has ever seen. These were not just politicians or revolutionaries. They were Pan-African leaders of great conviction who dedicated their lives to the liberation, unity, and prosperity of their people. But what truly made them great was not just their achievements. It was their struggles, their sacrifices, and their unshakable belief in a better future. To honor these leaders and appreciate them for their efforts, we have compiled a list of 10 greatest African leaders of all time. Please note that this list is not ranked in any particular order. We leave it up to you to decide the greatest of all time. Before we dive in, do us a favor and click the like and subscribe button if you haven't already for more videos like these. To kick off our list, we have Patrice Lumumba of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Lumumba was not just a leader. He was a firebrand of independence, a man who saw the chains of colonialism and vowed to break them. His impassioned speeches inspired millions, and when the Congo finally gained independence from Belgium in 1960, Lumumba stood as its first prime minister. But his dream of a united, self-reliant Africa made him a target. He was betrayed, captured, and brutally assassinated. His death was a warning to future African revolutionaries, but his legacy lives on as a symbol of unyielding resistance against foreign exploitation. Next up is Haile Selassie, Emperor of Ethiopia, one of the only African nations to never be conquered. Haile Selassie was the Lion of Africa, the leader who defied European imperialism when fascist Italy invaded his homeland in the 1930s. Exiled but never defeated, he fought to reclaim Ethiopia and stood before the League of Nations demanding justice for his people. His words, "It is us today, it will be you tomorrow," were a warning about the dangers of unchecked aggression. He modernized Ethiopia and became a founding father of the African Union, inspiring the Rastafarian movement in the process. To follow, we have Paul Kagame, the current president of Rwanda, the only mention on the list who is still alive to date. Paul Kagame's journey from a refugee to a revolutionary leader is one of resilience and redemption. After witnessing the horrors of exile, he led the Rwandan Patriotic Front to end the 1994 genocide, liberating his country from chaos. He did not just rebuild Rwanda, he redefined it, transforming it into one of Africa's most stable and prosperous nations. His leadership is driven by a deeply personal mission to ensure that never again will Rwandans experience the horrors of division and genocide. Next on the list, we go to Egypt for one of its founding fathers, Gamal Abdel Nasser. Nasser was not just an Egyptian leader. He was a voice for all of Africa and the Arab world. Born into a modest family, he led the Egyptian revolution that ended British colonial rule, nationalized the Suez Canal, and championed Pan-Africanism and Arab unity. His fight for economic independence made him a beacon of hope for many post-colonial nations. Despite facing internal and external opposition, he remained steadfast in his belief that Africans should control their own destiny. Julius Nyerere. If you're a true Pan-African, you definitely have heard of this leader, the first president of Tanzania, formerly a teacher before venturing into politics. Nyerere was known as the teacher, not just because he was an educator before politics, but because he shaped an entire nation with his philosophy of Ujamaa, or African socialism. He believed in unity, equality, and economic self-reliance. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Nyerere stepped down voluntarily, proving that power should serve the people, not enslave them. His personal sacrifice? Choosing simplicity over riches. He never amassed wealth, proving his commitment to his ideals. Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya, one of the longest-serving political leaders before becoming president. Jomo Kenyatta endured years of imprisonment for daring to fight for Kenya's independence. Labeled a terrorist by the British, he remained unwavering in his dream of a free Kenya. When independence finally came in 1963, he took the reins as the country's first president. Instead of seeking vengeance, he chose reconciliation, leading Kenya toward economic stability. His personal pain, watching his people suffer under colonial rule fueled his relentless pursuit of nationhood. Through his wisdom, he united a nation and set up Kenya on a path of stability and prosperity which propelled it into one of the leading African nations with limited riches. Up next, we have Captain Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso. Known as Africa's most radical leader, Sankara was a man who lived and breathed revolution. Rejecting luxury, he rode a bicycle to work, planted trees to combat desertification, and refused foreign aid, insisting that Burkina Faso must rely on itself. He was a feminist before it was fashionable, banning forced marriages and promoting women's rights. His assassination in 1987 cut short his vision, but his personal sacrifice, choosing integrity over power, made him a legend. When compiling this list, this name was one of the first in mind, Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. The things this man did put him levels above other leaders, and it's no shock the West felt very threatened by his vision and abilities. To some, Gaddafi was a dictator, to others, he was a visionary. Rising from a Bedouin tent, he transformed Libya into Africa's most prosperous nation, offering free education, healthcare, and housing to his people. His dream of a United States of Africa made him a controversial figure in global politics. His downfall was brutal, but his mission to create an Africa free from Western exploitation remains one of the most ambitious visions ever pursued. Next up, we have Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. A true advocate of Pan-Africanism, he sought freedom and unity not just for his nation, but for Africa as a whole. Nkrumah did not just lead Ghana to independence, he ignited a revolution across Africa. He famously declared, "The independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked to the total liberation of the African continent." He envisioned an Africa free from colonial shackles, where economic and political unity would lead to true sovereignty. His personal price? He was overthrown and died in exile, never seeing his dream realized, but his ideas continue to inspire generations. Lastly, we have one of the most famous people to ever walk this earth, Nelson Mandela of South Africa. No leader embodies resilience, forgiveness, and vision like Nelson Mandela. After spending 27 years in prison, he emerged not seeking revenge but reconciliation. His presidency marked the end of apartheid, but his greatest achievement was uniting a broken nation. His personal struggle, losing decades of his life for the freedom of others, made him not just a leader, but a symbol of hope for humanity. Nelson Mandela's legacy is not just African, it is universal. And that's it on our list of Africa's greatest leaders. These leaders were more than politicians, they were warriors of justice, architects of change, and visionaries of a united Africa. Their struggles were deeply personal, their sacrifices immense, but their impact timeless. We hope their story inspires you to follow a similar path in your lives and that we continue to see a rise of impactful leaders who champion greater legacies and help to shape a brighter future for Africa. Feel free to comment any leader we failed to mention and let us know why they should be on this list. Likewise, do let us know where you do not agree with us. More importantly, remember that this list is not ranked. We leave it to you to decide which leader had the greatest influence. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Join our community that strives to reshape, rebuild, and reimagine the future of Africa.